everyone, welcome back to the freelance series. My name is ZeBirdBrain and today we are talking about putting a price on your work and advocating for yourself. Not gonna lie, this is always a very hard part of any job. While I do not have the perfect answer, I do hope that these few tips will be helpful to you. Number one, you might and probably will get it wrong a few times. It's okay, it happens to everyone. You know, every artist out there probably undersold themselves or made something overpriced and even got scammed. I got scammed when I started out in the industry. I was working for a famous French-Canadian artist who wanted to make a comic, and then eventually they just went with someone else, and it was like, well, where's my pay? They just wrote me an email saying, you know, even the best actor don't get paid for their audition. Cheers! And I was like, what? So I went back to my animation school because my teachers are amazing, and even after you graduate, we still hang out. And I told them, I was like, I feel so stupid. Like, I should have signed a contract before or asked for money up front. Like, how? Like, I'm so dumb. And they were like, no, you're not dumb. It happened to everyone. I was like, yeah, right. You know what they did? Each of them told me a story about how they got scammed before into the art industry and stuff, and I was like, oh, so it does happen to everyone, so don't be too hard on yourself, okay? Don't hate you, hate the person who scammed you. Number two, split a large task into many small tasks. So what I mean by that is if someone wants to hire you for a music video, for example, it'll make it easier and also more transparent for you to quote the thing into an itemized list. So that means instead of charging, let's say, $20,000 for the whole music video and the client going like, what? You could be like, okay, let's take this very big task and split it into multiple smaller tasks. So you're asking for a music video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a storyboard and animatic, production work, and then the shadow work, and then the compositing work. And then all of these tasks, you can quote them separately. This makes it easier for you to quote and also easier for your client to digest. So of course I'm talking about a music video, but it could be a rig, it could be anything. Like for a rig, you could charge per views and be like, well, and also for the tilts and for the expression, this is gonna be that much and that much. So then it just shows the client that you know what you're doing, and also it shows the client that what they're asking might be very expensive. And it makes it easier to adjust, because if you're doing work for a music video, for example, and you say, well, doing the shadows and the compositing will be $3,000, and they're like, oh, that's a lot of money. But maybe they don't need the shadows or the compositing, and I'll be like, well, you know, just skip these steps and just do the rest. So you still get your money anyway, because if you accepted the job, it would have just been more work for you. Tip number three, adapt to the budget. In a project, it is okay to ask what is the overall scope. So for example, for a music video, there is a difference between someone telling you their budget is $400 and $4,000. If a client has a ridiculous offer like $400 for a music video, it's okay to pass on and be like, I cannot do that for this amount of money. And if you have time, explain why. Like, some people just don't know how expensive animation is. Be kind, okay? Let's say that the budget is not ridiculous, but still not enough for the work. Instead of asking for more, what you can do is lower the expectations. Of course, with common sense. See if you can simplify or remove some elements. This will make you look more professional and create a connection between you and the client. So instead of asking for $10,000 more, you could ask, oh, well, maybe we can remove the light and shadows of the character because this is expensive. And usually people will be like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. Speaking of money, tip number four, charge by days or week, not by the hour. Charging by days or week makes it easier to scope the work, and it also gives you more space for mistakes. Charging by item is also an option. For example, if you're a background artist, you can charge per background. But I would recommend secretly charging per days or week as well. If you think that background is going to take you 3 days, then charge yourself 3 times like 7 to 8 hours, because one day is 7 to 8 hours. It is not 24 hours, okay? If you think that a background is going to take you 3 days, charge for 3 days. Say, well, that background is going to be $300 and that's it. So then the person is like, oh, wow, okay, cool. But sometimes for some people, if you say, well, it's going to take me 3 days, so I'm going to charge you $300, they'll be like, well, why don't you just make it faster, okay? Charging per days or week is great because sometimes I will be very productive on one day and not on the other one. So by charging per week, I can balance it better. And remember, a workday is 7 to 8 hours, not 24. Tip number 5, advocate to keep the rights to share the project. So for example, when I work for Gangrams, yes, they upload the things on their channel, but I always maintain the rights to put it up on mine as well later, because it is valuable. You spend time working on those, and sometimes the pay might not be that great, but at least you keep the footage and you can use it to market yourself or something. And sometimes the client will say no, and that's okay, but at least you will know in advance, and you can then take the decisions to go forward or not with the project. Tip number 6, put everything on paper. And by paper, I mean anything that is not editable, such as a screenshot, a PDF, an email. This will not only protect you, but it'll also make it clear for both parties what is expected of the final delivery. Examples of stuff I put on paper are the delivery date, the payment, the form of payment, as well as the delivery format, such as a MP3, a movie file. This makes sure that the client just doesn't out of nowhere ask for the final files, because giving the files means a whole other layer of work that you have to do, so I usually don't give them. And last but not least, it is okay to ask for money up front. and I do recommend it for people that you've never worked with before. For example, when I work for Gangrams, I don't care. I know that they're gonna pay me, but because I've been working for them for 6 years, I don't get worried about it. But if it's a random person I've never met, usually I'm gonna split the payment at least in 2 or in 3 and ask for maybe a third upfront. It is okay to ask upfront, and if an artist is not willing to give you money upfront and you're gonna spend 3 weeks working for them, ask yourself some questions. So remember to advocate for you. You might get it wrong. It's okay. Just try again next time. Split a large task into multiple smaller tasks to quote them better and be more transparent with your client. Adapt to your budget and be realistic. Like indie animation is not going to charge you the same as these big established animation studios. They don't have the same budget. So also adapt to that, right? And speaking of money, charge per days or week and not so much by hours. Make sure that you keep the rights to share the file. Put everything on paper, and it is okay to ask for money upfront. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you again on the next one. Goodbye!